building inspectors and just in general, I mean, if you're looking for what's wrong with this country and why we're going down the wrong path and what has happened to this country, and it just a sort of microcosm, you can look at building in the city of Los Angeles. They have so many environmental impact reports, so many soils reports, so many codes, so many deputy inspectors. So it's physically impossible to do it anymore. And thus, that industry is starting to dry up. Suzanne Summers was on this show a couple months back. I said, Suzanne, I saw on the news your house in Malibu burnt down right on PCH. She said, yeah, jumped the highway, burned my house to the ground. I said, geez, how many years were you there? She's there for 20 years or something like that. I said, well, it's been a few years. Have you rebuilt? She just looked at me and said, no. I said, why not? You love Malibu. You've lived there for, probably lived there for the last 40 years. She said, coastal commissions, permits, forget about it.
By the way, last night, apropos of this, weirdly, someone showed me this documentary. I don't know if you've seen it yet, called Sins of Commission. Mm-mm. It's very good. It's about the Coastal Commission. And boy, this makes steam come out of your ears. It was made in 2008. I guess it didn't get wide distribution, but it's great. We're going to try to distribute it on PJTV. It's really fabulous, and it's spooky. I mean, the power of the Coastal Commission. Actually, the Coastal Commission, which started out as just a band that, I don't know what it was, 500 yards from the coast protecting it.
Right.
Now protects everything for 5 miles inland.
Right.
And so nobody can do anything. Forget Suzanne Summers is right, man.
She can't rebuild her house in
Malibu. They're a bunch of dictators.
Forget about taters. Just go with the dicks part.
Yeah.
And I've had many situations, and stories I've told before, but I'll tell you a few just good basic ones, which is, you build something. You build something now, you have to hire, if there's some welding going on, you have to hire a deputy inspector. It's a fat Mexican guy who sits in his car and eats, and you pay him $100 an hour, and he watches the guy weld. Not for the whole 8 hours. He watches for about an hour and a half, and then he leaves. But the paperwork you get from him costs you $1,200 and says he was there for eight hours. When the deputy inspector, you're done paying $1,200 for doing nothing, sitting in a Silverado and eating a breakfast burrito. When you're done paying that guy $1,300, you have to have another guy come by, and this guy has to magnaflux the welds. He essentially takes the goo that they put on your wife's belly when she's pregnant and runs the spectrometer across it to actually check for imperfections in the weld. You have to pay that guy another $1,300. Now, why I have to pay the first guy the $1,300 to sit in a Silverado and watch the guy weld when the next guy's going to come along and magnaflux the welds or do whatever he's going to do to the welds is beyond me. Why do we need the first guy if we're going to x-ray the welds the secondly? But you pay that guy. Now, I had a guy show up at my house, a building inspector, and he said, this new structure needs fire sprinklers. And I said, no, it doesn't need fire sprinklers. No one ever said it needed fire sprinklers. I went all the way through plan check and permits and all that, and there's nothing about sprinklers in here. And he said, well, it needs sprinklers. And I said, I don't think it does. And no one ever said it needed it, and it's not in the plans. And he said, I need sprinklers in this building. So I got an engineer out there, and he had
he's allowed to do that.
Yeah, he's perfectly allowed to do that. He makes $50,000 a year, and I pay more in taxes each month than he makes in a year. But he's allowed to come onto my property and tell me what I can do with my sprinklers. I think maybe that's why he does it too. He's like a little... Yes, there's a little something to make up.
Yeah.
So he comes in and he says he needs sprinklers. So I have to get an engineer in there, and he has to draw it out, and I have to deal with a sprinkler company, and he's got to do this, and he's got to make plans, and he's got to take measurements, and he's got to figure out volume, and he's got to figure out where to get the water source, and blah, blah, blah. And $1,000 later worth of just trips to my house and drawing stuff out, he goes down to the city, and he's going to get his sprinkler plans checked off now. And the guy behind the counter says, hey, man, you don't need sprinklers. It's checked off right on your plans right there. And then when the inspector comes back, the inspector says, what do you know? But I still have to pay the guy the $1,000 who drew up the plans and went down to the city and took the measurements and I can't stiff that guy. Why should he be a victim of this asshole who told me I needed sprinklers when I need
here we
sprinklers?
are. We're living in a state where I think the known unemployment is 12.5%.
Sure.
So, like, if you did the right thing, which was kick all these people out of their jobs because it's just pure feather bedding, it's nothing.
Sure, of course.
We'd have 18% unemployment. Right. I mean, we're in an insane situation right now.
I love all their, this we're an earthquake country bullshit, because I always ask them, what country is the house from 1929 sitting next to this bunker I'm building? What year was that built in, and where was it built? In Iowa? Has it not been an earthquake country for the last 80 years? And why is it still standing? So don't give me that fucking earthquake country bullshit. They nonstop with the digging and the caissons and the grade beams and technically you could use number 4 steel, but we're going to go with number 6 rebar. Well, why? Because we're an earthquake country. Well, let me tell you, go drive through Pasadena and see all the Craftsman houses built in the teens. Where are they? Earthquake fucking country. Is there any shear wall in those houses? No. Are they bolted to the foundation? No. Is there any strapping in the house? No. Do they have caissons and grade beams and steel cages? No, no, and no. They're still fucking standing, are they not? Right in the middle of earthquake country. So shut the fuck up with earthquake country all the time. Drive me nuts. You can't build anything. It costs millions of dollars to build a fucking patio in this city.
It's supposed to be smarter to build in the hills.
No, there's soils and grading.
All that bullshit, of course, goes on. But, because the hills don't get the earthquakes as badly.
They don't give a shit. It's earthquake country.
I know.
They're all earthquake country. It's nuts. You know what happens? Couple cement structures pancake on each other, and a couple of freeway overpasses. There's a 3-foot span, and some poor motorcycle cop rides off it. That's what happens in an earthquake. We're not fucking Guatemala.